I started training with them, and then over 2 month timeline, I was getting good feedback from all the coaches, but I never received like a actual offer from the academy.
Hey team, welcome to the Kick It with Katie podcast. I'm your host, Katie, and welcome to today's episode. This features my interview with Duncan Jarvie. He is from Utah, and so I love hearing the stories of some of the local kids that we've watched grow up playing soccer and where they end up. And so he is one of those players, and he played for a few different clubs in Utah, and then he kind of shares his journey as to where he goes playing academy level, professional, and now he's currently at college. When this interview was done, he had not yet gone to college. And so I don't have his take yet on what life is like playing collegiately, but I do have, everything up until then. And so I'm hoping to get him back on here once he's finished out his first season with his team at Stanford. And he's had a great year at Stanford. So congratulations to him so far with the things that he's been able to accomplish with that team. And hopefully it keeps just going forward with him because that's what he wants and that's what he's trying to do. And so it's a really great story. Shout out to the Jarvie family. Love running into them. We ran into them in Florida for nationals. Their son's team had just won their national championship. So, congratulations to them. And it's just always fun to see people that we know on the pitch and around tournaments and different things running into them. So, it's great to see what's going on. If you love Duncan's story, please make sure to share the episode and share the podcast, like the podcast, review the podcast, and if you want to be a guest on a future episode, or if you have questions for future guests, if you're a player and you kind of want to know some ins and outs of anything specific, shoot them over to me and I can get those questions answered for you. Kick it with Katie pod at gmail.com or find me on Instagram, Kick It with Katie podcast. And the links are in the show notes. But without further ado, here is my interview with Duncan Jarvie. Hey guys, it's Katie, and I have Duncan Jarvie here, and he is currently playing with the Real Monarchs. And welcome, Duncan. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I'm excited for you to share your story because you are you're a 2004, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, so you're kind of in between, like going from your youth career into hopefully a college or professional career. And we'll get into that later in your story. But why don't you start off introducing yourself and where you grew up playing soccer, where you're from, so that those listening can get to know you better.
Yeah, so I'm Duncan Jarvie. I was born here in Utah. Um, I moved out to Colorado to play for a little bit and then back in Utah now. I grew up playing for a bunch of different clubs here. I played for La Roca, USA, and then Sparta, and then decided to move out to Colorado to play academy soccer.
Cool. And what are some of your earliest memories playing youth soccer for your clubs?
Earliest memories, I'd say started with La Roca. I remember practicing at a middle school called Timberline. I remember going there like every single day after school and just enjoying it, just loving it. And then before that, playing rec soccer, obviously, just loved the game.
Yeah. And did you play any other sports while you were younger, or was it just soccer?
It was mainly soccer. I tried baseball, obviously. I tried all the other ones, basketball, played a lot of flag football. I was actually gonna play tackle football and I was gonna go into the like American football side, but I ended up picking soccer.
Was there any specific reason why you chose soccer over that?
Well, my parents made a deal that if I had good behavior in elementary school, because I was kind of a rowdy kid, that then I could join the football team. and then and then I ended up being a pretty bad student during elementary, and then so I couldn't play football, so I had to do something else.
Got it. Got it. So what made you stick it out with soccer and what made you really love the game?
Yeah, what made me stick it out was just because I loved it, and then I don't know why. I mean, it was just always so much fun to me, just getting outside. I loved to be active as a kid. And then obviously playing with my buddies and all my friends was a lot of fun. And then growing up watching it on TV.
And what position do you play? Did you always play the same position or did you try out a bunch of different positions?
Yeah, so I started out in the midfield. I played the midfield. I played in the midfield for up until I was probably like 13 years old, and then I switched up to striker up top, and now that's where I'm currently playing right now.
And any specific trainings that you would do on your own to try and just get better outside of your regular practices that you would do with your teams?
Yeah, a lot of like ball work and just ball mastery drills, a lot of footwork, and then I'd go and do a lot of finishing practice with a couple guys that played soccer with me, and then yeah, just spent time with the ball, doing getting touches any way I could.
And do you think that helped you become more of a striker player
Yeah,
or
I
just
do.
an all-around better player?
Yeah, I'd say all around better player. I think the finishing work helped me become a better striker, obviously, because you're shooting a lot as a striker. But any way you can get on the ball, you're going to improve.
Yeah, of course. After you played with the club teams that you did, so I know because you played for Justice for a little while, and this was kind of right around when COVID happened. You were starting to train with, did you start training with RSL or how did that, their academy program, how did that come about for you?
Yeah, so well, I think we had a game up at the academy, and then I think I scored in the game. I don't totally remember how it went, but after pretty much I got a text from one of the academy coaches, and then he invited me to come train. They said they wanted to see me in the academy environment, and so I went on trial for them for started out for as a couple weeks, and then it went longer into a period of like 2 months, I think.
And that was in conjunction with playing for Sparta. So you were playing for your club team and then you were kind of doing the trainings with them weekly or biweekly or something.
Yeah, so I kind of went back and forth. So I'd wake up in the morning at like 6:30, and then go over to the facility at RSL, train in the morning, come home, go to school for a little bit, and then once I'm done with school, I'd usually go to Sparta practice with Justice, and then those are my days. Yeah,
Busy, busy.
yeah, I
And
loved it.
yeah. And then so what happened as far as with RSL? So you were training with the academy and then did they offer you a spot? Do you know what happened? And then I know where you eventually ended up and COVID was all kind of happening
hmm
somewhere in the middle of all this. So kind of
Yeah,
explain that whole process.
yeah. So it was. I started training with them, and then over 2 month timeline, I was getting good feedback from all the coaches, but I never received like a actual offer from the academy. So COVID at the end of the 2 months, that's when COVID hit and everything shut down. So one day I got to the facility, and then I hear that the academy's off, that it's all done for because of
Mhm.
COVID. All the guys went back home. So then I talk with the coaches, and they say it's just it's not it didn't work out right now. It's just not going to work out, I guess.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I don't know if it was COVID related or wasn't good enough. Probably a bit of both, but yeah.
And then you ended, where did you end up? Because I know that you did end up at Real, Colorado. So how
hmm
did that come about as far as because I know that you have family in Colorado. And
hmm
so how did that come about for you?
Yeah, so I have family in Colorado. So one weekend I just went out there and just trained. I really wanted to go to an academy really bad, so I got a hold of them. One of my uncles used to work in the club, so I went over there, stayed with them for a little bit, trained a little bit, and then ended up getting an offer out there. And so I had to. Then I got the offer. I came back here, and then that's when I went on trial with Real Salt Lake.
Hmm.
And so Real Salt Lake didn't work out for me, and then um, got a hold of the coaches back in Colorado and told them I want to come out there. And so they got me out there. I moved when I was 15 years old. living with my aunt and uncle out there, and then played there for about 3 years at Real Colorado.
That's awesome. I hope you enjoyed your time there, I assume, since you stayed there.
I did enjoy it. It was tough, but I think it was good. I improved a lot, so it was worth
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. What would you say the toughest part of it is as far as joining an academy, especially one that's out of state for you?
hmm Well, I mean, first you're not with your family anymore. I mean, I was with my aunt and uncle, but it's different. I didn't know them very well. So
Hmm.
that's the tough part. You're not there with your friends or your family or your parents. And then the second part is like the level of play. Like I mean I jumped in. I honestly wasn't ready for the level of play yet. It was really
Hmm.
good when I first got there. And so I was getting yelled at all the time by the coaches, and like it was a struggle for like the first 3 months probably. And then
Hmm.
I started to get better and better. But yeah, and so I was doing online school as well. So it's like you don't get to see people at school. Like you don't have much of a like social life out there
Hmm.
except your teammates really. And so yeah, those three things, like those were the toughest parts. The not seeing your family or friends, not being able to go to an actual school, and then the, just the level of play. You're kind of shocked at first when you get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that with your situation, COVID happening right around that same time and not being able to train with your club team and then, up until you went, because I know that we had all the restrictions as far as how people could train and things. And so it was really unfortunate for a lot of players because they lost kind of that momentum that they had because then we had to stop all the in-person stuff. So do you think that that maybe factored into part of the reason why it was a hard transition or maybe not? I don't know.
Mm, I think in some aspects, I mean, sometimes like we had weeks where we couldn't train. Like if someone on the team got COVID, we had to quarantine or something. So that was pretty tough because like I came out there to play soccer, and like if I can't even do what I'm there to do, like what else am I
Mhm.
supposed to do? And so
Mhm.
um, those were the tough parts. But I think honestly, I think it didn't really have a big negative impact on me.
That's good.
hmm
Yeah. That's always good to hear, especially for elite level athletes who maybe had a break for whatever reason and hopefully they can stay mentally ready and physically ready to be able to get back in there and play. What would you say was the biggest shock? Not necessarily the toughness, because I know you did say you kind of got yelled at a little bit. I'm assuming to get you up to speed. But what was like a big shock as far as transitioning from your youth teams to an academy team for you as far as trainings?
Um, I'd say, I mean, just the speed of play, really. I mean, coming from Sparta, like I don't think I wasn't like the top player on that Sparta team even. I don't think I was at the academy level yet. So I mean, going into that was tough because I it took me a bit to get used to that.
Hmm.
But I think I don't know. I think that it was at the same time it was really good for me because I was just kind of thrown into it, so I had to adapt. I had no choice. I had to improve my game. So I think that's one of the reasons I improved so much.
Hmm. Yeah, it's because you were trying to adapt to the players that are around you, kind of a thing.
hmm
Because I know, and at least as a youth coach, I know that sometimes we see teams where a team will be playing chaotically and kickball and stuff, and then the other team who maybe normally possesses the ball really well, the team starts to also play chaotically because the other team's playing that way, and so it's really
Yeah.
hard to try and so sometimes as kids and youth players you kind of you see what other people are doing, you go, oh, I'm supposed to do that too, kind of a thing. But so kind of in the opposite thing where you're trying to catch up to them and
hmm
learn how to play faster and play more physical and get that way. um okay, so you're at Real Colorado, um and now you are currently with the Real Monarchs. So explain
hmm
to people how you got the invitation to come and play with them, and who the Real Monarchs are, for those that might not know who they are.
Yeah. So first, so I was out in Real at Real Colorado this past fall season. I had a really good fall season. I scored a bunch of goals. Um, Played really well. One of the scouts saw me down in California play, and so he's the one who ended up inviting me to preseason. So, but before this all happened, like I talked with my family and I was wanting to move back home for the spring season before I go to college. Um, so I decided to just take the chance and move back home. I didn't have anything set up with Monarchs or anyone. Like I was just gonna come back here and just wing it, just have to figure something out, somewhere to play
Mm-hmm.
for the 5 months leading up to college. And so I took the risk. I just decided to come back, and then a month into being home, I get a um, text from one of the scouts inviting me to preseason, and so that's kind of where it happened. And I went into preseason. I thought I played decent. I thought I had some good trainings and then some bad trainings, but after that, ultimately they decided to keep me for this season.
That's awesome. And so, for those that don't know, the Real Monarchs are the MLS Next Pro team to Real Salt Lake, right?
hmm Yeah, MLSNext Pro. I think it's considered third tier on the professional ladder. Then it goes MLS, USL Championship, and then MLS Next Pro and USL League One. They're on the same level, League One and MLS Next Pro.
And so, what position you play striker for them, right? Are you top
Yes,
player? Awesome.
yeah, play striker.
And this week was kind of a big week because what happened for you this week?
Yeah, scored my first professional goal on
How did that
Saturday.
feel?
Felt great. A long time coming. I was excited.
Yeah, so when we saw that, we were super excited for you. So that's awesome. And
Thank
you're
you.
also teammates with at least Griffin Dillon.
Yeah, I
Um,
am.
so his brother Devin plays for Sparta right now,
hmm
and then his other brother, blanking on his name. Oh my gosh,
I think it's
Trevor.
Trevor.
Oh yes,
Trevor.
Trevor. I was like, oh my gosh, why am I not thinking of it? Anyway, so he also played for Sparta. So that's awesome that you get to. We've seen him come back and start playing for the Monarchs as well. So that's kind of fun that
hmm
you get to. Do you know anybody else that's on the Monarchs?
Like that I've known previously.
Uh huh. Yeah.
Um, I don't think so. I think me and Griffin are like the two. He's the only one that I really knew before.
Yeah. How about
If I
in the
remember right.
academies? And in the academy still, are there any other players that are still in the academy that maybe you knew when you were
Yeah, I
on
used to
trial or anything?
play. I played with one of the U17 players when I played at USA. His name's David. Um, and I know there's a few other Utah guys, but I didn't really know them before.
But that's pretty awesome that we've got some local talent. I know that Real Salt Lake kind
hmm
of has their own big area that they get to choose players from. I guess you could say their big pool of players that they can try and recruit players from. So it's fun to see
hmm
that we still have some home talent there. So it's
Yeah.
kind of exciting to see. So, is there any advice that you would like to give players of today who are maybe considering trying to go into an MLS academy or
hmm
even to just an MLS Next club or anything like that?
Yeah, I'd say I think it was a good experience for me. I think I improved a lot, but I think for any player, the way you're going to improve is just by your mentality and your work ethic. I don't think like if you go to MLS club or MLS academy, like that doesn't just guarantee you like you're gonna go play at a D1 college or you're gonna go pro. Like it's about yourself, like your work ethic, mentality, what you do every day, and like you could be playing for any team, like any just a regular club team, and guys still make it pro. So it just is really up to you.
Hmm. And I know that you said that you were going to be coming back to Utah before you went to college. So do you have a college that you were planning on going to, or that you had signed with, or anything like that,
Hmm.
or were you just
Yeah,
gonna
so
wing it?
not wing it this time. Yeah, so I signed with Stanford a couple months ago. So that's the plan in July. Go to Stanford and play there, and then hopefully come back and play professional after that.
That's awesome. Do you know any other players that have signed for Stanford that you know of, or you just you? Is that where you wanted to go? Did you get recruited
Hmm.
there?
Yeah, so I got recruited there after MLS Next playoffs when I was a U17. I honestly didn't have that great of a tournament, I thought, but um, before that, I scored a ton of goals in the season U17's year. I think it was somewhere around like 18 goals in 20 games. But
Hmm.
then so yeah, so I got recruited after that in the summer. Um, I ended up going on a visit. I went on a visit to another school and then was thinking about some other schools. But once I went on the Stanford visit, I just knew like this is where I want to go. And so then I committed like a couple weeks after that. So I committed early of my junior year.
Hmm.
And yeah, I know there's only a couple other recruits in my class. I know one's some I think he's a foreign player, and then one is from California. And yeah, it should be fun. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Do you think your experience going to the Real Colorado will help you as far as going to college?
Yeah, I totally do. The coaches there they're big on college. Like they put like every single player into college, like D1 or D2 usually, and they're just really big on college and just great people. The coaches are super tough. Like one of my coaches is named Clint. He's also the goalkeeper coach, but he was in the military, I think, and he's he's awesome, but he's super hard on the players. So I think
Hmm.
that'll get me ready for college, and he's been around the game forever, so he knows everything. He knows so much about the game. So
Hmm. Yeah. That'll be really exciting to see where you end up. So, is your ultimate goal to hopefully continue in playing professionally for an MLS team or anywhere?
yeah, I mean, ultimate goal would be hopefully go somewhere in Europe. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how that all works with all the citizenship and like U.S.
Hmm.
players going over there, but yeah, first step is college, and then maybe get drafted or just sign with any MLS team.
Hmm.
But
See where
yeah,
it goes from
fresh.
there.
Yeah, it's definitely the goal. Play as high up as I can.
Well, that's awesome. We're definitely rooting for you to go as far as you can, as long as you want. So, as far as where you've gotten so far in your career, have you had any major setbacks? I mean, other than like COVID, which happened to
Oh yeah.
everybody.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. So I've actually broken both of my feet back to back. It put me out for about almost a year, 8 months in total.
Mm,
So that was a pretty major setback. That's like really the only one I can think of. Um, but yeah, so first, how it happened, we were in preseason. I was in Colorado playing. Um, I step wrong and I break the outside bone of my foot.
mm.
Go to the doctor, found out it's broken. Then I'm in a cast for like a month and a boot for a month, and then I can finally start walking. And then it takes me about 3.5 months to get back playing. And then first game back from the injury, I injured my other foot in the warm up. So
Ow.
I did the same thing. I stepped weird, and then that one broke. I was in California playing at the time, so I had to take a flight home before the rest of the team.
Hmm.
I go to the doctor and they said it was broken out there, but they gave me nothing for it. They didn't give me a boot. They didn't give me like a cast or
Oh,
anything. They
no.
just sent me home on the plane. So I took a ace bandage and wrapped it up, and then was on crutches all throughout the airport, and then got home to Colorado.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Was it the same bone in each foot, or was it just
Same
a,
bone. It was like the same exact fracture.
huh, that's really
The
weird and
second
crazy.
the second one took longer to heal though, so I guess the second one was a little bit worse.
Well, hopefully now that they're healed and you're doing great,
Hmm.
that they're stable now. So
Yeah,
yeah,
they're all
that's
good now. Don't want to
definitely
jinx it.
crazy. Yeah, yeah. When you were going through that, I know a lot of players they struggle because they obviously want to continue playing and things like that. So I'm assuming since you were part of the Colorado squad that you still attended trainings and things like that to be with the team
Hmm.
as best you could.
Yeah. So the first time I broke my foot, I was actually doing I was going to school in person. I did one semester with this one normal high school, and so I had to stay out in Colorado because my school was out there. I had to go to in-person school every day, so I had to stay out there, and then I went to team trainings, went and watched them and everything, and then did as much as I could to train on my own, like just getting in the gym and working out and doing other stuff besides soccer. And then second time I broke it, I'm doing fully online school because I was getting ready to go to preseason actually with Colorado Springs Switchbacks, and so that's when I broke the other one, and then that one I could go home for. I went. I think I stayed here at home for 3 months while I did the rehab process, and then I went back out to Colorado to get the U19 season started in the summer.
Do you have any other advice that you want to give players as far as like things that maybe tactically that you think players maybe should or shouldn't focus so much on, or any kind of advice to help them as far as from your perspective as a player?
Mhm. Yeah, I think when you're young, just focus on playing as much as you can if you want to improve and get better. Just play pickup all the time if you want, as much as you can. Get on the ball, do ball mastery stuff. I think as you get older, that's when all the tactical stuff will come in. You'll learn from all your coaches and stuff, but individually as yourself, just continue to play the game and just touch the ball as much as you can.
Love it. Just love it. Watch it,
Yeah,
play it.
watch it, just live it, just enjoy it.
Yeah, because it's really fun and it's really exciting. And I love watching my kids. Like my son came home a week or so ago and he scored a goal in a game and he was all excited. So that's great. So I mean,
The
it's
best
fun to
feeling.
see. It's fun to see you guys grow up and see where you all end up, and you kids out of Utah, because we're from Utah. For those of you that haven't figured it out, but to see just homegrown kids, that I like to say the homegrown kids from Utah and where they all end up in these different academies and things. So I'm sure if you're a soccer person and you're not from Utah and you're from your own state, I'm sure if you have players that you love, that you probably hopefully keep track of them and where they end up if you're into that kind of a thing. So we like to, since we're coaches in the youth league, it's really fun to see where you all end up and what colleges you go to, or what academies you end up in, or teams that you guys end up playing for. So it's really fun to see you guys going through the process. And then obviously thank you for coming on and sharing your story and your journey, that it's obviously still happening. So eventually, probably in the future, we'll have to have you back on, and then you can tell us all about whatever else happens in your career. So, and hopefully it's a
For
long
sure.
career for you. So um,
Thank you.
is there any specific coaches or parents or people that you want to thank, give a huge shout out or a thank you to, for helping you get where you are? I know you said there
Hmm.
was some coaches at Colorado that you really liked and they helped push you to be the player you are today. Anybody specific that you want to thank, or just kind of thank everybody that's helped you?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, justice. I mean, that's who really got me into like the real competitive side of soccer and me wanting to play professionally and everything. I
Hmm.
learned a ton from him. And then coaches out at Real Colorado, they were a huge help. Danny Bills and Clint, they're amazing. So they're the ones who really got me recruited to Stanford and got all these opportunities, like me playing over at Switchbacks for a little bit and then getting in touch with Monarchs. So thank you to all them, and then obviously my parents.
And I actually found out one of my best friends from high school, her husband works with your dad. So she, when I
Really?
shared your, yeah, when I shared your goal that you scored this week in my stories on Instagram, she was like, "Hey, Matt works with his dad." So I was like, "Oh, that's funny."
That is funny.
Small world.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I'm really excited to see where your career goes, and we're rooting for you, obviously. And thank you so much for coming on today. Anything else that you want to say or share?
No, I think that pretty much covered it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Duncan, for coming on and sharing your story so far in your soccer journey. And we wish you the best of luck and hope that you are able to achieve all the goals that you are trying to reach in your professional career. And we will definitely be watching you and what you're doing. And hopefully, when we can have you on the podcast in the future and you can continue to share your story for those that are watching and seeing what you're doing because we love it and we want to congratulate you on all that you've accomplished so far. So, congratulations on that. If you want to be a guest on a future episode, reach out to me, kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com or on Instagram, kickitwithkatiepodcast _ between all the words. The links are in the show notes. You can also reach out to me now on SpeakPipe. I have a link in my link tree which is in the link of my bio. And I think it might be in the show notes as well now. I'm pretty sure I added it in there. If I haven't, I will go ahead and do that. But you can leave me a voicemail message and you can be featured on a future episode if you want to be featured. If you have a question for a future guest and you want to ask a question, we can snip that in there and then you can be featured and have your voice on there. If you want to also leave a voicemail message with your Player of the Week nomination, you can do that as well, and you can just leave your little message, and then I can put it in at the end of the episode, and you can nominate your player, and you can hear your voice, whether you're a coach or a parent, nominating your player, and we can share that with the episode. So that is a new feature that I've added on in there if you want to leave a message there. Questions for me, questions for other guests, feel free to leave those messages or shoot me emails or anything, whatever is easiest for you. If you like the podcast, rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening, and make sure to share your favorite player's so far story. And if you want to have a Kick It with Katie shirt, reach out to me. I've got some left over. I would be happy to send you one, and hopefully we can get that going. So thank you guys for listening today. Thanks for listening to Duncan's story. Thanks for kicking it with me, and have a great day. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at kickitwithkatiepodcast _ between all the words. You can reach out to me with questions at kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com. I also have a feature with SpeakPipe where you can leave me your own voicemail message if you want to be featured on the podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.